So guys, the Elden Ring story trailer just dropped. Go check that out if you haven't already. I watched it and I didn't understand a thing. Aside from that, we got the Datamine. Well, the patch has already gone live for the new French event, so I'm gonna take a look over at the Datamine. Rather, I already did. I'm just gonna be giving you guys my thoughts. It's gonna be a little bit more scuffed than usual, and I'll probably be missing some things, and it won't be as in depth because I'm not in my usual setup. But yeah, I'll be giving you my overall thoughts on each ship if it's relevant. If you haven't seen the data mine already, I'll link that in the description below. So open that up and follow along with me. Starting off with Alsace. Right off the bat, 145% main gun efficiency with 3 mounts and preload, which is pretty good, but unfortunately, compared to most other Rainbow battleships, her total amount of steroids is rather low. So it seems like she's going to be hitting really on the lower side of most of the Rainbow battleships. However, there's two very obvious use cases where she's immediately going to be good. One is against light armor because her barrage numbers are all skewed towards light. So she'll probably be the second hardest hitter after Bismarck's Way, but I'm not too sure how she's going to compare to Kearsarge. Regardless, she will at least have a role against light armor for sure. After that, if the battle is very short, obviously her preload will pull a lot of the weight. And yeah, some other more conventionally powerful battleships like Soyuz, Musashi, or Bismarck, they don't do anything until their first salvo, so by then, Alsace will have fired 2 already. So if you don't get to, the third or the fourth salvo, Alsace should have an big enough lead just from her preload for her to end up doing more damage in total, I think. Aside from that, her permanent debuff is obviously very good, 12%. It could be, and even if you don't have a French Vanguard to make it permanent, it's still much easier to sync with than Vanguards, since the window is 10 seconds as opposed to Vanguard's 6. Not only that, but not only that, she's also very good on manual, because what you could do is hold off her first salvo until you are able to proc the permanent debuff and then use that right away. Or for example, in EX mode, since, right, I forgot to mention, this is a thing that really separates her from all the other preload battleship, and that is that she can hold 2 salvos of her gun, like a carrier would typically. Meaning that her first salvo won't push back the cooldown of her second salvo, and her preload won't delay her first reload like other preloaded battleships would. So in EX, I expect to see her a lot for players who are looking to top the leaderboard, because you can hold 2 salvos with her and then use them both when Helena scans at 20 seconds. Other than that, right, so in total she has 15% firepower, some crit rate, and then her damage amp, which is a bit on the low side compared to her competitors, but there's something I was forgetting. Right, she also has a faction buff, but it's rather weak, 8% crit rate. At least it's not crit damage, which is the most pathetic buff of all, but yeah. As for her heal, it's actually pretty decent, but if you go to the barrage tab of the Datamine, it says that the barrage actually heals her herself and not the ship that is under 30%, as the skill says. So I'm not sure if there's like a mistake on either side. Right. So I'm not sure if she's healing herself or the ship that is under 30% HP, or both. We'll have to test to see that. We'll have to test her out to see that. And also, her barrages look kind of weird. They're not your conventional arcing targeted barrages, so that will be needing some testing as well. But for now, you can you can be sure that you will see her in short battles against light armor and in EX as well for players looking to top the leaderboard. Next up, we have Mogador. She has 2 main gun mounts in her loadout, but her skills essentially make her have 3, which is pretty much the biggest thing about her kit. She is quite tanky, so not to the same level as Laffy, but one of the tankiest battleship, or one of the probably top 10 tankiest destroyers in the game, thanks to the evasion rate. Her all-out assault is rather weak for a ship of her rarity, and then her skill 1 barrage is pretty interesting. The lunge in particular, it seems to pierce everything that she will pass through on the way to hitting the enemy. So we'll see how that plays out. It also has 100% crit rate and scales off for torpedo, which is always a good thing for destroyer barrages because they tend to have higher torpedo stats than firepower. So yeah, it's kind of hard to tell how strong she is going to be exactly because we don't have any main gun mount +3 destroyers with piercing lunges to compare her to. Maybe I could do a better comparison if I was at my computer and crunch some numbers, but for now, I'll just say she looks interesting, and I mean she's a rainbow ship, so can't be that bad. But definitely not like an entire level above the other existing rainbow destroyers. She is the most gun focused of the 3. Well, 4 if you include Udachi, but yeah, she's outdone by gold ships these days. So I'm only talking about Shimakaze and Laffy too, of course. So Laffy, now we have one, Swiss Army knife in Laffy, one gun-focused destroyer in Mogador, and one torp destroyer in Shimakaze. A nice balance there. After that is Bearn META. She's a pretty normal carrier, and her only real niche is that she decreases... she has a faster first airstrike. So pretty much anytime something like Impero or Akagi Miu would be good, she would be good too. But otherwise, I don't think she has... and she also has ways to keep herself concealed. So I would probably expect her to deal more damage than an Impero or Akagi Miu, but nothing like game-breaking. And the use cases are the exact same. As for her gun... as for her third slot, putting a gun gives her... Let's see. Yeah, this is not too interesting. I think I don't really rate it. I think just a dive bomber is going to be fine. Yeah, so with a gun, she only has 20% cooldown reduction to her first airstrike. And given that her reload is a bit on the low side, you probably want the 50% instead with a dive bomber if you're using her to desync. So just take a dive bomber on her. I don't think the gun would be terrible, but I think dive bomber should be better. Next up, we have Brennus. In French, it would be something like Brennus or something, probably. I don't know. I'm not French. Look at me. Do I look French to you? I am French, by the way. So when I looked at her skills, I thought she was just another barrage cruiser, but turns out she actually has 2 main gun mounts. 2 main gun mounts on top of strong barrages as well. Both her timed barrage and her all-out assault are quite powerful, and it's something you would typically see on a barrage ship that has, 1 main gun mount, something like Frederick Karl and the new Prince Eugen Miu. But yeah, she has very strong barrages as well as 2 main gun mounts. So I'm pretty impressed. And also, the rotating swords that also fire at the enemy. That's a very cool concept, and I'll be looking forward to testing her out. Good job. I wish they tried something like this with a rainbow ship instead. But to be fair, Mogador is pretty interesting with her lunge. This is like the first... Is this the first legit melee attack? I don't know. Somebody let me know if that's right. And then Alsace is not as interesting, but should still be good. Next up, we have Fleuret, and also Épée. Both of them are pretty unremarkable. Between the two, I think Fleuret is definitely the cuter one, and it's a shame that they couldn't give her like an air raid assist or anything just to make her somewhat useful, but... Oh, she does have the main fleet protection, but still not enough to make her useful, especially since she's not particularly tanky or doesn't have really outstanding anti-submarine or anti-air, so yeah. After that, we have the Colorado retrofit. Wait, I swear when I was looking earlier, she had 150% main gun efficiency, but it's been updated to 145%. She does have a lot of firepower buffs from her third skill. Sorry, I had some soju earlier and it's just coming back up. Anyway. Oh, she also gives a shield, which is pretty useful. Honestly, you know, she's not the best battleship in the game, of course, I'm not going to pretend, but for a very easy to obtain purple ship, she's going to be a very good tool for new players progressing through the game, having very strong shelling, the Big 7 barrage on a high chance to proc, and then also some survivability to back it up. And yeah, I think the other one was Maryland, right? So if you have one of Nelson, Maryland, or Colorado, you probably won't need, you know, any of the others, but any of the three should be a solid pick for your early game battleship barager for the flagship position. Okay. After that, we have the new equipment, right? So the destroy gun obviously is going to be very strong, a huge upgrade in the medium armor department, and on paper it might look like a huge upgrade against light as well, but do remember that the 2100 millimeters, the rainbow one, it's fast enough that the absolute cooldown is not actually 0.3 seconds. I don't remember exactly how much it was, but if you account for the fact that the absolute cooldown is a bit lower, then the DPS against the light is actually very similar. Of course, the 2100 millimeters is much faster as well, which is going to be a lot better for barrages. However, the new Twin 138 also has 55 firepower, which is 30 more than the Twin 100. So that's also going to increase barrage damage as well as gun damage. So overall, it does seem like it's going to be a minor upgrade against light armor for most ships, barring some very powerful barrages, and definitely an upgrade in against medium armor for pretty much everything. And I think it's also usable against heavy armor, despite the fact that it is AP. So yeah, personally, I'm going to be upgrading it to plus 13 the moment I get it. So, but if you haven't upgraded your gold battleship guns yet, I wouldn't recommend doing so until you've done that. As far as the torpedoes, I don't really understand what's going on with them. It seems like it fires two waves. First it goes like this, and then it goes like this. Something like that. Doesn't really impress me looking at it. There's no homing, so I haven't done the numbers yet either. But oh, wait a second. 3 torpedoes. Oh, it's a quintuple. Okay, it should be okay against in mob stages when there are a lot of enemies, because its base damage is just very high. I thought it was a quadruple for some reason, but It's a quintuple torpedo with one side that has 3 and then one side that has 2. So it's asymmetrical. That's a little bit annoying, but nevertheless, that is the update. I hope you guys enjoyed. It was a little bit scuffed, but yeah. Anyway, I'll be back in... Today's Tuesday, so 4 days. I'll be back home in 4 days, and I'll probably be streaming then. I tried to stream my polls today, but the quality was extremely scuffed. I think I had like 50 pixels total for the stream, unfortunately. But yeah.